Hello, dear students. I hope all you are doing good. So, let's continue our topic. And today's topic is how was the Constitution made? So, in this point, we'll come to know about the procedures and all processes which were possessed by the Constituent Assembly before the formation of the Constitution. So in this, you just keep some keywords in your mind like Constituent Assembly, okay, dates you must remember, and one thing that is the undivided India and the divided India, the partition after 14th August 1947. Okay, Pakistan and India were divided, but when 9 December 1946 our Constituent Assembly, okay, was formed. So that was the first sitting with the all the members of the Constituent Assembly on this date 9 December 1946. Fine, but after the partition on 14th August 1947, they reassembled and they gathered for the Constituent Assembly. All the members, okay, members were chosen indirect election by the members of the provincial legislative assemblies. Means the members of the Constituent Assembly were not elected by the people. They were indirectly elected. Why indirectly elected? Because they were elected by the members of the provincial legislative assemblies, and that were established by the Government of India Act 1935. So those members of the provincial legislative assemblies, means member of the provincial legislative assemblies are equal to MLA nowadays. MLA, okay, MLA nowadays, like in our area, who is the MLA? Diwan Singh Bisji. Okay, so they had chosen all the member of the Constituent Assembly. So that is why it is a part of the discussion that the Constituent Assembly was not elected by the people. So can we say that the constitution was democratic? Well, we'll find out the answer in further lectures. Okay, now see, the Constituent Assembly was composed roughly along the lines suggested by the plan proposed committee. Means who gave this plan to do formation of Constituent Assembly? So that was the committee made by Britishers. That was Cabinet Mission. Okay. So under the supervision of the Cabinet Mission and the guidelines of the Cabinet Mission, the Constituent Assembly was working. Fine. Now the next point is each province and each princely state. What is princely state? The kingdoms. If you go somewhere else nowadays for the visit, you can see in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and other places there you can get some forts. Like you can go Fort of Amir in Rajasthan, Jaipur. So those forts were owned by the kings. Okay, so that time those territories were known as princely states, and each province, states, and princely states, kingdoms. Okay, so allotted seats proportional to their respective population. Now we are giving the what seats on population, like one seat for the 10 lakh people, and that time round about 39 crore people were in India. The population of India was 39 crore. Okay, and I'm telling you about this undivided India. Okay, this time Pakistan was not formed. So the population of undivided India was 39 crore. Okay, and what we gave one seat for the 10 lakh people. Okay, so approximately 389, not approximately, means 389 seats were there. Now how did we divide these 389 seats among the people? Now let's see about it. So A result that were 292 members were directly elected, okay, from the provinces. कहाँ से? Provinces से, okay, from the provinces. And 93 seats were given to the princely states, kingdoms को दे दी गई, okay. And 4 seats were directly elected by the Delhi, Ajmer and other cities, okay. So other provinces, the seats of each province were distributed among the three main communities, Muslim, Sikh, General, and of their respective populations. So seats were divided in between these communities. So we can say that these seats were representing each and every member, okay. Member of each community provincial legislative assembly elected their own representative by the method of proportional representation. So these were the methods: proportional representation, which we have studied, one seat for the 10 lakh people, okay, and single transferable vote, which we do vote, okay. Now the next is composition of the Constituent Assembly. So as I told you that we were undivided that time, but after the partition what happened, okay. So let's find out. As a consequence, partition under the plan of 3 June 3rd June 1947, those members who were elected from the territories which were under the Pakistan ceased to member the Constituent Assembly. The number of the members of the assembly were reduced to 99 and Constitution was adopted to 26 November 1949. So 284 members, 284 members were actually present on 24 January 1950 and appended their signature on Constitution as finally passed. And then 26 January 1950, our Constitution was formed. Okay. Now the thing is that I told you that we had 389 seats in the Constituent Assembly. Fine. But after the partition, because these seats were undivided that time. But after the partition, what happened? That some seats were given to the Pakistan also. Okay. West Pakistan and East Pakistan. Okay. So when we minus those seats, so the number is 299. Okay. And after so much discussion and deliberations, we see what? On 26 January 1949, our constitution was adopted but launched 24 January 1950. In previous lecture, I had asked you about this, that why did we wait for the 2 months, but nobody has answered that. I am waiting for your answer. Find out this reason. Okay. Or should I tell? But you just find out. If you will not tell, then I will tell you. So on 24 January 1950, 284 members signatured on the Constitution, okay, and that came in existence on 20th January 1950, as we know. And this day is also celebrated as Republic Day. Fine. Now, as we discussed that Constituent Assembly, the member of the Constituent Assembly were elected by the member of the provincial councils, that were member of the provinces, okay. So this was the part of the discussion and the conflict that this constitution, wait, look, this account of the composition of the Constituent Assembly that drafted the constitution touches upon only a surface of how a constitution was made. Okay, although the member of the assembly were not elected by universal suffrage means voting. Okay, of course we know they were not elected, they were indirectly elected. Okay, so there was serious attempt to make assembly as a representative body. Members of all religion given representation under the scheme described above. In addition, assembly had 28 members from the SC caste. Okay, you just write it down that in assembly there were 28 members from the SC caste. In terms of political party, Congress dominated the assembly. Now the question is that the Constituent Assembly was representative or not, because that was not elected by the universal suffrage. But now the answer is given that Congress means SC category, means SC category. The Constituent Assembly had 28 seats, so given the representation. Okay, but Congress, the party in itself, dominated assembly, occupying many as 82% of the seats. Okay, Congress party was a dominated party that time, one and only in India. Another one was Muslim League. Okay, they got the Pakistan. But Congress party in itself was very diverse. Okay, after the partition, they gained 82% of the seats in the assembly. The Congress itself was such a diverse party and managed to accommodate almost all shades of the opinion within it. Of course, means it is other thing that the Constituent Assembly was not elected, but Congress party in itself was very diverse, and almost each and every section of the society was a member of that. Okay. Now the principle of deliberations. As we know that Constitution took 2 years, 11th months and 18 days to be formed, right? So this was a long process, right? So why did Constituent Assembly take this much time to form constitutions? So why? The deliberations were going on. Each and every procedure, section, articles were discussed, so many deliberations. Okay, so they were doing lots of debates in the Constituent Assembly. Okay, and that is why it took lot of time, and that is why our constitution was not made just a cup of tea. They took long period and they formed a balanced constitution, right? Now see here, the chairman of the Constituent Assembly, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and the chairman of the drafting committee, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, they both are greeting together. Okay. Procedures. Now see the procedures. Means there were 8 committees. How much? 8 committees. Major committees on different subjects. And the members of those committees were Jawaharlal Nehru, Rajendra Prasad, Sardar Patel, Ambedkar ji. Okay, they were the chairman of those committees. So we cannot say that constitution was dominated by a single person. Okay, means all those 8 committees gave their views, their recommendations, then they discussed and they did. So that is why it took a lot of time. Okay, so here's something Dr. Raj Prasad is saying. So well, we'll move forward. Now, inheritance of the nationalist movement. Okay, when we were forming the constitution, so lots of leaders were the part of the nationalist movement. Okay, and they knew that what things they need in their independent India. Okay, so they try to put those all the changes in the constitution. Okay, what were those? So here you can see another one term is coming, keep this in your mind. Objective resolution. Okay, Constituent Assembly in the objective resolution given by the Nehruji. Okay, defined the aims of the assembly, moved by Nehru 1946. Okay, Nehruji ने 1946 में दिया. Okay, this resolution encapsulated the aspirations and values behind the constitution. Okay, and what were those resolutions, objective resolutions? What were those aims? So you can see those are given here. fundamental commitments like equality, liberty, democratic sovereignty, a cosmopolitan identity. Okay, thus our constitution means you can see these all are the part of our constitution. You must be relating it with your fundamental rights. What does it mean? Cosmopolitan society means our secularism, secular society. Okay, secular society. Well, so these were the points and major points of the objective revolution resolution you can see given by the Nehruji. So India should be independent, sovereign and republic, shall union erstwhile British Indian territories. You can go through to it. These were some points in our objective resolutions. So you can go through to it. If you feel any kind of problem, so you can ask me in the comment section. Okay, means these all things you can relate properly. Institutional arrangements. Well, now let's okay, before getting forward, let me tell you one thing here. This plan which I told you, that 3rd June plan of 3rd June 1947, okay, it was given by the Lord Mountbatten. Okay, and this was also known as the Mountbatten plan, and usually it is known as June plan, 3rd June plan also. Okay, at last in Lord Mountbatten plan, they were agreed to divide the India. Okay, so institutional arrangements means, as I told you, that executive, okay, judiciary and legislature, they all are given the powers, okay, to check and balance their domination, so that no one, any institution can dominate on others. That is why they are a part of the checks and balances. Okay, so this was the institutional design. So then now the one question arose, that the framers of the constitution were not averse to borrowing from other constitutional traditions. Indeed, its testaments and wide learning, they could lay down their hands any other intellectual arguments. So they borrowed a number of provisions from the different countries. Now, what is these things? So to explain this, let me focus you on this. Means our constitution makers took lot of things from the other constitutions also. Like you can see from the British constitution, they take first passport, parliamentary form of government, these things. From the United States, they got the fundamental rights, power of judicial review. French Revolution, they took idea of liberty, equality, fraternity. Irish constitution, they took DPSP, that principles. Okay, and federal system from the Canada, and fundamental duties from the Yugoslavia. Okay, so they took all the things from the other countries' constitution. So one more point arose in the mind of people, that our constitution makers, those who took long period of 2 years, 11 months and 18 days, so they have discovered something new or not, or they have taken all the things from the outside. Okay, so for this, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, what he is saying on this question? One likes to ask whether there can be anything in new constitution framed at this hour in the history in the world of the world. The only things, if there can be any in a constitution framed so late in a day, are the variations made to remove the faults and accommodate it to needs the countries. So what does it mean? That if lots of countries had formed the constitution before us, okay, so why should we waste time to identify something new to put in our constitution? We know the social, cultural and the various community structure of our country, okay, in India. So we should take all the positive things from the other constitutions and put it into our Indian constitution. And why did we take too much time? Because we were discussing that if you are adopting this one from that country's constitution, so it will work in our country or not. So they were saying this. As we know that Bhimrao Ambedkar was very brilliant and a very brilliant lawyer he was. Okay, and he belongs to the SC category Mahar, and he also uh, clarify this thing in the mind of people that everyone should be treated equally. Okay, so this is all about this chapter. So if you have any doubt regarding this, so you can ask in the comment section, and if you have not gone through the other previous lectures, so please go through to it. Thank you so much.